Hi, everybody. Welcome to Sunset Stitches. My name is Trevor Conquergood. Just putting my thing on Do Not Disturb so I don't get phone calls while we're on live. And it's Free Font Friday here at Sunset Stitches. And so thank you very much to everybody who's coming in. Hey, Candy, how's it going down there in Tulsa today? Oh, hi, Kay. So great to see you guys chatting before I go live. I love that. They're, in there saying hi to each other. That's awesome. Yeah. So thank you for saying that you love the fonts, Candy, because we love making them. And I don't know if you guys have seen this week's font yet, but it's called Welcome to Earth. And I don't know where my kid comes up with the names for these fonts, but I love it. So as soon as I saw the font and the name, it just reminded me of like Close Encounters, and so I put a little, I don't know if you guys are on Facebook, but I did a post earlier today, a reel, and you got to listen to it because it's the audio track from the Close Encounters. I just sat there and laughed listening to it over and over again. So I hope you guys get the humor and all of that. Hey, how's it going, everybody? So glad to have you dropping in, Suzanne and Robin. It's great to have you guys drop by. We're always excited on Friday because, of course, it's Friday and everybody loves Friday afternoons because it's almost the end of the week, right? And, this time of year, it's exciting in Saskatchewan because it's nice out, and you can get outside. Last night we played ball. Lorna and I are on a slow pitch team that we started 28 seasons ago. And nowadays, my son Nicholas over here is on the team, hit a nice home run last night. Good job. Anyway, if you guys don't know, it's Trevor and Nicholas is kind of working behind the scenes to do help me with the chat. So thanks a lot for being there, Nick. And of course, Nick digitized all these great fonts for me. And so thank you for that. Anyway, you guys, that's font number 23. And so I've been collecting them. There's quite a few past fonts that you could have collected. So you got to come every week to get them, right? Did you guys see me on Wednesday when I released the 100 Acre Woods? Isn't that awesome? This is like my favorite one of all the Winnie the Pooh ones that I've done so far. I think this is my favorite because of all the little tiny text that you can find, all the little spots on there that you remember the stories, reading them to your kids. Maybe you read them to your grandkids. Well, now you can embroider them onto whatever you want. I guess their sweatshirt or I don't know, embroider them onto a quilt. But it's turning out to be really nice collection. I usually work on those designs live. Oh, I just dropped one, sorry. Every Wednesday. So if you want to stop in and visit Nick and Trev, we're online usually once or twice a week, Wednesday and Friday. I'm super excited because I got my first fireworks design today. Edna is first. She sent me in when we do our FTCU workshop classes. I always have a challenge every month, and this month the challenge is fireworks. And so thank you to everybody who's working on fireworks, because I know that probably Suzanne is working on fireworks, and Candy and all you guys that are visiting me today. A lot of you guys are in my workshop for, and so you saw me make these fireworks in class last week, and now it's your turn to work on fireworks. And it is kind of that time of year, right? Because the Independence Day and Canada Day are coming up. So Suzanne says almost done. I love it. That's awesome. Oh, what a busy week it was. There's a lot of stuff going on at R&K Distributing. And as always, it keeps me busy, and I'm super excited. We're working on our next update for the software, and so I don't have any news on when that's going to be released, other than to say that all the testing has gone really well, and so it should be, probably in the near future, like during summertime kind of thing, since it is almost summertime now. If it isn't, actually, I think it is summertime. So yeah. Shirley said, I saw you in Cleveland. Do you think you'll ever sell a collection of your patch designs of the cities you've sketched? Shirley, a lot of them thanks for asking me that. A lot of the cities that I've sketched have made it into my Trevor and Friends Embroidery Club. Not season one, because season one kind of happened before I started doing the sketches. But the truth is, season two is already kind of mostly complete, and there are some sketches in it, but not all of them. I do think that someday I might have a way that people could collect all of my sketches and all of my postcards and all of my patches, and I don't have that kind of organized today, but we've talked about it, what would be a fun way to do that. So, I don't know, Trevor's Travel Designs or something like that. You could collect them all. I'll tell you how it'll happen. It'll be a membership. I won't sell them one at a time. It'll kind of be like, yeah, add this to your account and then you can get all the designs. So we'll see. I'm just building my collection, and I'm excited to say that I'm going to be hitting some stores or visiting some locations coming up this fall and winter. So I don't plan to be anywhere during July and August, but September, October, and November, I already have bookings. And so I'm going to be in places like California and Florida and South Dakota. And if you have a favorite sewing store and you'd love to see me there, again, just give your store a holler and let them know that Trevor's got a new I'm working on a brand new presentation for this fall. So it'll be something all new. If you've seen my Save Your Embroidery, or your patches and postcards that I've been doing the last several years, then this will be something brand new. Yeah. I mean, it's not that if it's someplace I've never been before and they want me to pull out my patches and my postcards, I'm going to do that. But a lot of stores, I did my patches and postcards. And so we can still talk about it while I'm there, but it'll be new things that I'll be featuring. Does that make sense? Yeah. Where in Florida? Suzanne says, Suzanne, I have two booked for Florida, and one of them is in Crestview at Ruthie's, and the other one is in Pensacola and Pensacola, Sarasota with Tops. So Tops is in March, and Ruthie's is in September, very end of September, something like that. So yeah. And so we'll have more news. I'm planning on posting it up on my website once everybody's kind of signed all their contracts and everything's official and all that. But I know what we picked the dates and I've had my conversations. So yeah. You guys, this week I went out to see my mom and my dad. Nicholas and I did. My dad, and I sent an email. It's kind of, I want to tell this story before I'm going to go on screen in a minute and do a little bit of. I have a few things that I want to show you guys today, on about text and about embroidery text, and that kind of stuff. But before I got there, I just thought I would tell a funny story because. I know a lot of you guys follow me on Facebook, and I'm on as many groups as I can and all that to kind of be helpful. I don't always help right away because I figure if that's, if I love when people help each other, and then if somebody says, Trevor, please help. Well, anyway, I got one of those this week. It was like, is Trevor still with Floriani? Was the I read that. I was getting ready to go for bed and I was like, oh boy, I better answer that. I had been busy all afternoon. Nick and I left in the afternoon to go visit my mom and my dad. And when we got back, I had the Facebook comment, is Trevor still with Floriani? Well, of course I'm still with Floriani. Well, nothing has changed. I'm still the software manager for R&K Distributing, and I love my job. And I'm also doing events and planning events with R&K. So all that is the same. And I'm still Trevor from Stitchetize because that's who I've always been, right? My mom and my dad literally taught me about embroidery. I grew up in a family business that had an embroidery company and a digitizing service. Our embroidery company was called Broadway Embroidery, and we were known locally in Saskatoon for really outstanding embroidery craftsmanship, as well as quick turnaround. We were efficient. And but really my dad started doing embroidery in the 1980s, and we had a local embroidery shop for a very, very long time. And mom and dad are now retired, right? And the other thing we did was digitize embroidery designs. And that was my part of it, right? Stitchitize. Stitchitize is the name of the company that when we digitize stitches, we called it Stitchitize. And when I first started digitizing stitches, the designs were stored on an embroidery paper tape. There was a day when the couriers came to my office to pick up the paper tapes every day. Envelopes going out all over the country, mainly in Canada. We didn't do digitizing as a service for sort of people south of the border until AOL version 1.0 came out. That was like, what? But wait, let's just rewind before that, because I haven't even gotten to the fax machine yet. But the point is, we started doing embroidery before there was even a fax machine. And my dad and mom had this awesome embroidery company, and that's where I grew up, learned all about embroidery, and I managed Stitchitize for 25 years, you guys. We did 100,000 embroidery designs, and about 12,000 of them were considered stock designs, and the vast majority of them were somebody's corporate logo it was a service. And that's what I did for 25 years. I managed a team. We were a team in a room, in a large room, not much bigger than my basement, but we were in several locations over the 25 years, but probably more often than not, we were on a mezzanine above the embroidery department. So the embroidery department would have been on the ground floor, because it's a lot easier to bring embroidery equipment in and slide it in on the ground floor. Sometimes you have to take the doors off to do it. I've got pictures of my dad bringing embroidery machines into the building through the windows with a cherry picking system. But you guys, it's pretty funny and long story of all these things that my mom and my dad and I did together. Traveled the world, to Thailand, to Germany, to talk about embroidery and share. And so when I finally came to R&K, I was actually Trevor from Sunset Stitches, because when I stopped working for my mom and my dad, I really just started to do embroidery education. So Sunset Stitches was born in 2008 when my youngest child was born, and I decided to kind of stay home and be like a stay-at-home dad. Was really what happened. And I started doing embroidery education online from my basement, and I've been doing it ever since. And I've trained with all kinds of different softwares. Well, I arrived with R&K in 2015, and it was just the match made in heaven. The software that I started using in 1984, the same software developer that does the Floriani software. So literally, I've been using Floriani software since 1984. And anyway, it's kind of a fun story, but my dad's got, so I sent the email saying I was going to be helping my mom and my dad. And I think people read it as I was leaving Floriani, which couldn't be further from the truth. That's, no, that's nothing happening at all. So all the stories, I just thought I would kind of, for the people that follow me and come for Free Font Friday, you could get the benefit of a little bit of story, because you might have saw the Facebook post and been like, what's that all about? But I think people misread my email when I said I'm returning to Stitchitize in my role as Trevor of Stitchitize. But the irony was, I've always been Trevor from Stitchitize, and then I was Trevor from Sunset Stitches. And of course, I'm Trevor from Floriani, and I'm Trevor with R&K Distributing. So really, I'm just Trevor that does embroidery. And I think if you just say Trevor, most people know who you're talking about. And I kind of laugh when I say that. But if you don't do embroidery, you probably have no idea who I am. How's that? But my dad has this. So here's the reason we went out there. Nick and I, my dad says, can you guys come out? Because I need to get a box out of the container. He's got a sea can. If you know what a sea can is, he's got two of them with all the stuff. Because when you downsize, when you retire and you have, a commercial property plus an acreage, and you move into a small town and you buy a church. My mom and my dad live in a church, and they have two sea cans in the back. So she says, I need, Suzanne says she saw it and almost freaked out. No, nothing's changed, you guys. You would know. But my dad needed a box. He says, "Can you get? We need. I had that. I have." He told me at Christmas he had some of these embroidery collections, and he wanted to know if I could help him sell them. So we did the Stitchitize Complete, and I have this on my website. That you can learn about it, but it's basically a color catalog, 2,800 embroidery designs, all on a color catalog, and you get all the designs, right? It's not just the book, but you actually get the book, which I think is what's cool. Was we'd never print these again today. He's selling them for less than what it would cost to print the book, honestly. But you get the book. He'll mail it to you because. And he was like, I got a couple boxes of them. So then he calls me up, says, I think I have some more boxes, but I need you to help me find them because of the email that I sent, right? Because he sold them. So we get out there and he says, I told the guys that packed the container that I needed them to be easy to get out. Well, they weren't. And Nick and I get there, and I don't know if you know what a sea can looks like, but I want you to imagine what my Stitchitize office used to look like, because we had 100,000 embroidery file folders. So imagine a doctor's office, maybe not 100,000 file folders, but there was, each folder contained several versions of each design and whatnot, but still there was tens and tens of thousands of paper file folders. It's like a doctor's office with a lateral filing system that slid back and forth. It was too deep, and it was a massive wall of file folders. Well, when you retire, what do you do with all that? You're kind of attached to it, right? It's like, wow, I love it. Like I would love to be able to just finger through those and pull out drafts and stitch outs and show you guys things that I made. Well, anyway, where it is in boxes, right? That, and they're numbered, right? There's over 300 boxes of file folders, just the file folders alone. And all the CD jewel case, remember those plastic jewel cases that we used to sell the CDs on? My dad's got thousands of them. I was like, Dad, I don't even know what to do with this, because people don't want CD jewel cases. I mean, most things are done by download nowadays, so I'm not sure there's value here. But the books are pretty valuable. Well, great news was we found more books for my dad, but boy, oh boy, did Nick and I work for hey, Nick. I thought I'd show you guys some pictures. Maybe make me small, Nick, okay, so I can go bigger. This is the free font of the week. It's called Welcome to Earth. And if you find my reel on Facebook, you'll hear the sounds from Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which I now have on my bucket list to watch with Nicholas, because he said he's never seen the movie, and I think that's one we got to see. It doesn't go real big before it gets too wide. So if you want to use it much bigger than 1 inch tall, you're probably going to be introducing a middle split like I did, or possibly a random split, or maybe just a pattern fill would look nice too if you wanted to make it smooth. But it's a stylized block font that has interesting letters like the A and the E that are kind of stylized, R, and yeah. Anyhow, it's kind of my decorative photograph of it. But yeah, so Nicholas and I go out to see Mom and Dad, and they have the place all just cleaned right up because they actually are going to sell it. And as much as they love living in it, and they've been in there for a lot longer than I realized, but I think they've been in the church for about 7 or 8 years now. They bought the house next door because it's got less stairs and it's just not as big. But look at their big beautiful living room, right? Like, can you just see that's the altar is like their kitchen? We had some wonderful family gatherings here. There's my dad's like little embroidery office in the basement. It's kind of fun to go down there. Everything's all cleaned up, for whatever, selling the house kind of thing. But all his cool binders, and this he gave Nick us the shirt. I'm like, that's awesome, Nick. Here, bring me big again, Nick. The shirt is I remember digitizing this 1 stitch at a time, the old-fashioned way. But every scale has like a different direction, and if you get it and the lighting's just right, they light up, it's really kind of an interesting design like that. There's a smaller version of that on the book because that would be too big for the average home embroidery machine. But I looked in here because it's all in like sections, and I found the fantasy designs section here. It'll be like, and I found there was that dragons on it. Yeah, here it's called Celtic Tribal and Dragons. There's a small section in the book for that kind of Celtics type work. And there it is right there. It's the 5x7 version. There's a bigger version of it as well, but not in this collection, I guess is what it is. But anyhow, you guys, the collection, you can still get it on our website. If you bring me back to the website again, Nick, I'll show you guys a couple more pictures. And then, so that's when you live in a church, your house is actually in the basement. So like, that's my mom's sewing room and that's their bedroom. And this is like a downstairs living room. So there's a whole, underneath that big, beautiful living room upstairs, there's a whole nother house downstairs. Anyhow, they have such treasures, all the things that we made. This is not part of that collection, just so you know. This bowl is its own little thing, because a lot of the lace designs were done later. Our earlier collections were really made up of collections of cars and trucks and floral sets and sets of designs, Celtic, for example. But these are the containers I'm talking about. Like, we moved so many things and we didn't even get halfway through one of them. Hey, Nick, it was crazy what they got stored in there. But I guess when you downsize that kind of business and operation, there's just things that you didn't, he thought they were valuable, so they kept them. Here we are. That's Nick. Here's the file. Like, those are all the file boxes. And that's after we moved them, right? Because this is like when we opened it over here on the left. And of course, the box that he wants is like on the other side of all these boxes. Crazy. He said they were at the front and it was just going to be an easy job, but we'd worked for a couple hours to get them out. This is a paper tape reader. So it's funny the things I can pull out when you're in the, and you go, hey, I recognize that box, and you open it up. This is old time stuff. But if you had a Baird, an embroidery machine back in the 1980s, you could have hooked this up to it and then put a paper tape on here, and it would have read the paper tape through this little kind of reader system. And then that would have transferred the design into your embroidery machine. And I have pictures of like the paper tape library, and it's like a whole wall of these paper tapes. It's kind of crazy, but I didn't get all the pictures out today. Just these are the pictures I took when we were there. So there's Dad and Nick, and they're having a little break there, but they're moving next door. So the church is literally going to be directly beside their new place. But yeah, so okay, that's my update, you guys. I'm still Trevor from Floriani, and I have always been Trevor from Stitchetize. So this is Sunset Stitches, right? And that's my own personal kind of corporation. That's what I call my embroidery studio here in the basement of our home. So Nick and I both work at Sunset Stitches. That's where you go to get your free font every Friday. So go hit right here, and you can just click right there to download this week's font. If you, of course, are a member of my classes, then you can get all of the fonts from the archive. So that means you don't have to come every Friday to get it. They're free for the week, and then after that, you got to get them from the archive. It's the same thing with the Digitalk. That's the Winnie the Pooh stuff. It's really not only about Winnie the Pooh, because I was working on fireworks, in this week's one for Digitalk 10 was this week. If you click on Digitalk 10, you can see the video now, that we recorded it live, but it's there now. And if you're a member, then you can hit here to download the designs, is kind of how it works. But every week I release a couple of designs for, members. Just they're the bonus designs, because really the reason people become a member is to get my classes, and that's workshop 4. This is the member download page. This is the links to your live classes. And these are all the past classes that you can, of course, download and watch. So, okay. Phew. So how did anyway, that's my update, you guys. Thanks for listening. If you want to get the Stitchitize collection here, let me copy this page. But basically, this is how you would buy that. It's a page on my website, Sunset Stitches. I made the page, to explain what it was and put a picture of my mom, my dad in there, and a picture of their church is somewhere in here. And me and my dad, but that's how you buy it. And yeah, it helps my mom and my dad. These are, if you want to know more about what's in it, these are the designs. Basically, these are all individual CDs that we made. And this is like a volume collection, their first 34 CDs that I ever produced. And when I was the manager of Stitchitize, but you'll love the floral borders and corners. That's a beautiful alphabet right there. All those beautiful floral corners. Like I said, industrial equipment. Who has a collection with industrial equipment? And probably more than anything, I think you'll love is the book, right? Because the book is how you find everything. And it's kind of convenient because you could have 100,000 embroidery designs on your computer, but your friends come over and now you're like, here, I got all these. And they can sit and look through it and go, oh, that's kind of neat. And, so I'm back full screen so I can see you guys. So Suzanne says, I love the classes. And thanks, Suzanne. You're always so kind to me, and I appreciate that. I know you guys love the classes, and you know how much I love teaching. Really, it's my passion. So let's take a minute and go back on screen and go into the embroidery software and kind of play around a little bit. If you guys have a question or anything like that, you're certainly welcome to ask that. I always leave time on my Free Font Friday for, if there's somebody that's got a question about Floriani, anything, we could answer it. I usually like to give a little lesson about text and or something to do with the software. And so I thought today I would talk a little bit about the video of the week is going to be about that comes out every. So if you own the Floriani software, then you get an email from R&K Distributing every week. And typically that video is made by me, and the topic this week is going to be about text and specifically how to fit your text into a shape, to a path so that you could reuse it over and over again. And it's a good one to watch. This is the font of the week, Welcome to Earth. And if I click on new to start like a new workspace, and then I click on my text tool, I have a bunch of text tools, right? It's not just the text tool. It's like horizontal text, vertical text, circular text, text on a path, monogramming, something that you don't know about, true type fonts, artwork, and something that you might not have is the lettering master. But most of these come with the FTCU. And the main thing I wanted to say here was if I click on, for example, text along a path, it's going to put down the words my text, but before it does, it lets me select the path, and you'll notice that I have some blue paths and some red paths. The red paths are the ones that come with the software. The blue paths are the ones that I have saved and added to my little collection. So you can do all that. And so, for example, if I choose this one that says simple, it'll come onto my screen and I'll get my text, and it'll be in whatever font I used last, which was apparently Welcome to Earth, right? So there you get the words my text. Now, Welcome to Earth is an all uppercase font. So if you try and put the word Trevor in and you type it in upper and lower, you're going to get a T, because you can tell when you look at the font that it just has an ABC capital and there's not a second ABC for lowercase. If you hover over it, it'll show you the characters that are in it, like that, that are available. And so if you want to do the word Trevor, you have to type it all uppercase. And then when you click apply, you will get all your letters, and that's kind of how it works. So I said the video of the week, when I make text along a curved baseline like this, a path, I have little handles just like always that I could use to separate the text or make it closer, kind of manually. The blue handles will adjust all the text after the blue handle. So it's like it'll do the VO and the R together. If I take this handle, it's the V, the O, and the R are all one. So the handle kind of affects the space in between, the two letters. But the gold handles allow you to take the one letter and move it without touching any of the other letters. So now you can move it around, and you can move it off your baseline to be, higher or lower or whatever it is, just side to side. And it won't affect any of the other letters. You can just do the one. You can rotate one letter if you feel like the one letter needs to somehow be slightly rotated, but that's how you can customize kind of the layout. But if you want to do the baseline, and that's what the weekly video is about, you need to right click and ask for the edit baseline. And it makes the baseline editable, so now you can change the baseline. And it doesn't update the text. And if you don't right click, it won't do nothing. Like if I just left click right now, oh, it didn't do nothing. And then you start over, you're like, select it. And then from select, you have to right click and go into edit text. And then once you're in the edit text mode where you can see the baseline, then you right click again to get to edit the baseline. And now if you move the point to change the baseline to be kind of whatever baseline you want, when you want to make it update, you have to right click. And that will make the text go, along the line that you've put. And so that's kind of how you can create your own baseline. And the cool thing is, once you save the baseline to be the baseline that you want, you can put any text you want on it, right? I change it from Trevor to Nicholas, and instantly Nicholas is going to go into the same baseline. So that's the cool thing about being able to customize the baseline. And if you really love that baseline and you're like, we're going to want to use this one again, you can right click again. And this time it says export line. So it's not all super intuitive. This part is a little bit technical, but it's not hard once you understand where it is. So you can edit the line. And if you make a line, you can say export. And when you say export, it goes right to this place in your computer where it needs to, where the line frames go, and you can give it a name, whatever name you want. And when you save it, it becomes one of those blue ones. So I won't bother, but I could, I could save this and it would go into my list. So that's and some interesting kind of tidbits about the text. A lot of times, and what I said earlier was this text is kind of good. Like the default size is 20 millimeters, which in inches is like 0.8 of an inch. This font's probably good up to about an inch. But what's going to happen is you're going to start to get the warning. And the reason for the warning is really because of the way that we did the V and the A, because the stitching is turning around that corner and it starts to become very long. So that is why the recommended size for this one is probably not more than 25 or 30, because see, that's almost becoming a half of an inch long. And your machine, if you go back to metric for a minute, your machine will measure in metric and see it's 11. Well, 11 will sew, but 12 will not. And you will get the warning at 10. As soon as you have a stitch in your design that's longer than 10, which happens in this font at around an inch. So if you use it up to an inch, you'll be fine, but you might get the warning. But if you try and use it larger than an inch, some of these stitches, so let's see what happens, right? If I take it and say, well, what happens? That's 1 inch tall right now. So if I make it, let's say, 35 tall instead of 25 tall, so that it becomes, a little bit larger yet, what'll happen is you'll start to come in here, and if I turn on 3D, there'll be like a whole section missing in the A. And it's not that it's actually technically missing. The stitches still go back and forth, but it's showing you that the average home embroidery machine is going to make them be trimmed out. It thinks they're meant to be. And so how do you deal with that then, Trevor? Well, that's something that I could teach about. So if you look in your properties, You have a lot of settings on the first tab where you got your size, and your text, and your alignment. But then you have a text extra tab, and then you have the style of embroidery tab. That's where you could change it from a satin. Well, if you made it a pattern fill, that would fix it. That's not what I recommend, but I could. That's an option, right? It's not that I don't recommend it. That's not my first choice. But that'll flatten it. Right now, it also makes it a lot more stitches, right? Because instead of just going back and forth, it's going back, stepping in between. And now it's not a problem to make it any size. Once you change that to a pattern fill, you come back to your first thing and make it, 2 inches tall, which is 50 millimeters, and, type enter, and it'll, the letters might kind of get weird because I got that weird baseline, and it's, they're pretty tall now for the baseline's not very big anymore for the size of the letters. So it still works. It's just, that's kind of the difference. But so when I said that wouldn't be my first choice, it's because I prefer the satin stitch for letters. It's less stitches and it allows the thread to kind of show a little more. But at 2 inches, that's going to leave a lot of gaps, right? Half your A's missing now anyways. The rest of the letters probably could have gone up to 2 inches. It's really because of the A and the V and a couple of other letters that have kind of really that big point like that. But the point here is if you go to keep going in your sort of tabs across the top, the next one's underlay. And I always put an underlay on my embroidery anyway. The next one's pull comp. And I usually add a little of that too, about 0.02, 0.2. But it's this next one that I want to talk about. And that's where it says quality control type, none. But really it's what split type do you want, and there's a middle split, or you can do a random split, or a percentage split. But if I go random and I random at 7 and I click apply, it'll get probably most of the letters. Oh, you still got a warning. Interesting. But so you can see that with the random split, the way that it kind of splits it. Now, as it gets wider, it splits it more than once. What I did for the Stitch-O was I did the middle split. So the middle split starts to slice it right down the center of all these lines like that. Yeah. And I'm curious why the warning's still coming up, because I got the middle split set to be maximum of 7. So I'm not quite sure I can interpret why the warning's still coming up, but yeah, anyway, I'm not sure on that. But so you can see how the middle split really changes the look. It kind of divides it down the middle. It's like a double satin, 2 back and forth. So that's another option. And I like that one a lot for making this font bigger. Like I said, if you don't want to do any splits and all that, then you really kind of got to stick to like not bigger than kind of that 1 inch size. Then I think if you're down at 20 millimeters, it won't split it anyways, even if you turn the splits on. Actually, that's not entirely true. So notice now I've got the letters back down to like 20 millimeters, just about 0.8 of an inch again. But I do have the splits turned on at 7 millimeters. And the only place in this design that gets longer than 7 millimeters is the tip of that A. And now it's got a little bit of a carving in it. If I change that to a random split, then I'm just getting a tiny bit of a random, and it'll be softer, almost unnoticeable. So I often turn on a random split just to take care of if I get anything too long in these fonts like that. It'll just take care of that little corner right there. So, okay, there's some tips for you guys about text and all that and how to fit text to a path. So that's always kind of interesting stuff to talk about. Yeah. Is there, did any questions come in for me, Nicholas, while I was on screen, full screen like that? You guys want to ask me questions? That's fine. Let me come back full screen again and chat with everybody a little bit. So it says, Pat says another lesson that will be a challenge for me. Is that the fireworks challenge? Because you're meant to challenge yourself. That's what I want to say, because you can keep it as easy as you want. Or you can use it for people who feel rather accomplished with the basics. Then I think the challenges are an opportunity to try something new, and so you can elevate, be like, I'm going to do fireworks, but I'm going to make mine freestanding lace fireworks. Trevor, have you thought of that? What about, and sure, there's so many different things you could do. So, yeah. Christy says, I'm having some issues downloading. Website, it says, taking too long to open. What are you downloading? Is it on my site or RNK's website or just in general? I know that everything on our website is technically working, and most of the downloads are actually pretty big files. Like when you look at the downloads, like for the classes, they're big, you guys. Like I have to say that with the high definition video, and I don't squish them down to be teeny tiny videos. So when you get one of my classes can be 500 to 700 megabytes. It's a lot. I can, if I was to try and put them onto a compact disc, I could probably only get 6 or 7 classes on one compact disc before the disc would be completely full. Just to put, FTCU Workshop 4 would be like an 8 disc set. That's how much stuff is on it. So yeah. She says, we're trying to get your font to download. Well, let's do it right now, Nick. Let's just test it and see. So bring me big. I'm going to go onto the website for Sunset Stitches, and I'll just click on embroidery fonts because I did just post it, and who knows? I haven't had any reports that there was troubles with it. But so if I click on this, it should go. Yeah, like so now it's already downloaded. It's done. That's it. They're super small. In my case, it goes to the folder called downloads. If you're having a trouble, what I might suggest is do a restart on your computer, because once you restart it, it might be completely better again. A restart or just maybe if not a restart of the computer, sometimes just restarting the browser. So, like shut down your web browser and start it back up again. And then try again. It's probably confused. Something's not refreshing, is my guess there, Christy. It should go fast. Yeah. She says, I can't get into your website at all. Well, I mean, unless there's some kind of like antivirus thing that's stopping you from doing it, the doors are open. You can get there. The gateway to our website is open, and I'm, definitely people are getting it. So yeah, I'll try to do the restart and see. But I've had issues on my PC and work PC. If you do need some help with getting the fonts or just getting to my website, reach out to me by email. I'm always happy to connect with people. Trevor at sunsetstitches.com. Yeah. If I download a design or a font, does it automatically go into an AST file into the library? Kay is asking a question from YouTube. Kay, that's a good question. The answer is, when you download something, you get whatever the person made, so that download, could be a lot of things. Let's just talk about something specific like the font of the week. Okay. So my font that you download, that we just downloaded it, is in a zip file. And the reason I make them in a zip file is technically because my WordPress website does not understand AST file format, and it won't let me do it. So the only way I can actually share an AST on my website that I know how to do is to put it in a zip file. So I zip it up with another help text file, and that's all that there is really, is just the help text and the asset file. But I put it in a zip so that I can make it a download, But that said, most of my classes all of my classes are in zips, because inside of the zip file, I always liken the zip file to the Ziploc baggie, that you're going to take carrots to the party, and you got to put all the carrots in one bag to take them to the party. You know, when I send you a class, I just want to send you the class one download. It's a zip file. But when you get it and you extract, the word that you're looking for is extract. You use Windows to extract the contents from your zip. It makes a folder, you know, and then you're done, because then you'll have a file folder on your Windows, you know, somewhere on your computer, wherever you chose to save it, that says the name of the class. And then inside of it, there'll be the class recording. There'll be the PDF class, you know, printable review. There'll be WAF files for, you know, embroidery designs. There'll be sometimes asset files. There'll be whatever I put in the zip. You know, that's so when you download a file from a website, you get whatever somebody made. And on our website, you'll never download an asset file. It'll always be a zip. So bring the website big again, Nick, for me. And what I'll do is I downloaded it already, right? It's here in my downloads. It says Earth, welcome to earth.zip, right? It's there. And there's a button that says open. Well, you can go ahead and click on it if you want. So this whole thing is simply, it opened automatically. When I clicked download, it was like the web browser brought me to my downloads. You can also close this, right? You might not even have that. When you click download, what happens kind of depends on which web browser you use. And I'm currently using Microsoft Edge, but I use a lot of different web browsers. Google Chrome is another one that I would use. And it might be slightly different in one or the other kind of thing. But all that said, and Windows 10, it might look, but usually when you download something, it goes to a folder on Windows called downloads. So if you bring up your, you know, the yellow file folder that's called Windows File Explorer, this is how you can browse your folder locations. And if I find downloads, these are all the things that I've recently downloaded, right? And then right here is the zip file that we just finished downloading. And if I click it to select it, an option to extract it becomes up on my top here. See, let me click on something else, like one of these pictures. And notice that there's no extract up top. But when I click on a zip file, I get that option. So I'll extract it. It says, where do you want to extract it to? And it's kind of showing me where this is. So I'll say, yeah, there, or wherever, change it if you want. Click browse, you know, tell it where to extract it. But now I have a folder, and it opened the folder up, but it's right under my downloads, you know, and inside of it is the asset file and a help text. You know, the help text, what's that? Well, double click. It's like how to do it, you know, step 1, step 2, blah, blah, blah. Here's some videos, you know, that you could watch that would help you. So it's a help file is what it is. That, but the other one is the asset. Now, if you're in Windows and you try and click on the asset file, Windows won't know what to do with it. You know, it might think it works with Adobe, but it doesn't. You have to know what to do with it. Now, so here's the font that I just downloaded, and I know where it is. It's in a folder under downloads, right? If I go to downloads, I know there's going to be a zip, and there's going to be a folder with the same name, and it's inside of that folder. That's where the font is. So when you go onto the Floriani software, you don't use open. You don't open an asset file. You import it with your tools drop-down menu, and you go to what is known as import assets. Now, I know there's two file types that both have an AST at the end. There's design sets. So when you get your free monthly designs from Floriani, you use import designs. But when you get fonts, and I mean fonts that you type out with your font tools like mine, like the Sunset Stitches fonts, you use import assets. Because not to confuse things too much, but you could get a font that was really just a bunch of letters, and really it's a design set, you know, that makes a font, and that would come under import designs because you're really importing a folder of designs. But today we're talking about, you know, the welcome to the earth is an asset that you can import assets. So when I click on that, it's where's your assets. So I go browsing. I guess I got to go to my documents to go in. No, it's under downloads. Remember where you put it. And then there was the folder, right? Sunset font 23, welcome to the earth. open your folder. There's your asset file. Select it and open it. And by the way, when you're done doing this, you can delete that with your downloads. You don't need it anymore because you'll have added it to your software. It will install it. And you don't need the zip. You don't need the folder. You don't need the asset file. You're done with them. You can collect them if you want, but you don't need them because they're in your Floriani now. But so you can see here that it says that there's fonts. And if I look, there's one font. Welcome to Earth. Now, for me, it shows red because I already have it. But for you, it will probably show white. And then you will be able to just click OK to add it. As easy as that. You just have to select it and click OK. But the reason it allows you to view them is so that you can see what you're getting. So if you get an asset file, you can be like, I don't know if I want your fonts anyway. You could uncheck it. Be like, I only want the one, not all of them. That's up to you, right? And it'll let you know if you already have a font with the same name. And it comes up red like this. And if you needed to, you could come in here and give it, change the name, Welcome to the Earth 2. And now I would be able to import it if I wanted to, and it would give it a new name. But I won't bother because I don't need two of them. Okie dokie. So that is some fun stuff for today. I'm looking forward to the weekend. I want to just express my gratitude to everybody that came to visit us today at Sunset Stitches. So that means UK and Christy and Chris and just everybody that has been dropping by, Denise. And anyway, I'm going to stick around for another minute here. So if you have another question, you got a quick, enter it in quick. I'll be happy to talk about it. Otherwise, it was just great seeing you guys. And thanks so much for dropping by. And just know that I'm still Trevor from Floriani, and that's not going to change. And I do plan to be on the road in the fall and in the winter, probably doing at least one trip per month, maybe two. And so maybe I'll get to see you guys in person, or maybe you'll want to travel and go to one of our great events. But if not, I really look forward to seeing you guys in class. So good luck with your fireworks designs. If you run into questions, just let me know. To everybody who's watching the recording after the live, thanks for dropping by. And please leave a comment so we know that you watched. But in the meantime, guys, I want to say thanks to everyone that ordered the collection from my mom and my dad. I know that many of you guys already have because my dad told me about it. But if you want to get it, the good news is me and Nick dug them out. There's some more of them available. And I'm going to try and get my dad a Facebook page and see if I can teach him how to use it. Well, that remains to be seen. But in the meantime, it's great to be helping my mom and my dad. So, yeah. And thanks to you guys for all your wonderful support. Great to see you guys. Thanks, Kay. Hope to see you in Florida, too. Suzanne says she can't wait. So I can't wait either. So yeah. In the meantime, I'm going to enjoy some summertime up here in Saskatchewan. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. And bye for now.